The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched higher than any building on Earth. Walls made of living crystal pulsed with soft blue light. Representatives from 30 different species sat in their designated places. Each one looking down at the humans standing in the center of the floor. Ambassador Chen Wei stood perfectly still. Her black suit looked plain compared to the colorful robes and armor worn by the alien delegates. Behind her, 3 other human representatives waited quietly. They had been in this chamber for hours, listening to speeches and conditions and demands for 3 full cycles of the station's rotation around the local star. Humanity had been here, 3 cycles of negotiations, 3 cycles of trying to find common ground. Chen had arrived with hope. She had believed that Earth's first contact with a galactic community would lead to friendship and cooperation. She had been wrong. The Vrax Primarch rose from his seat. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished stone. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber like thunder rolling across mountains. "The Council has reached its decision," the Primarch announced. "Humanity will be welcomed into our community. This is a great honor. Thousands of species exist in this galaxy. Only 30 have earned seats at this table." Chen felt her heart beat faster. This was the moment they had worked toward. Earth would finally join the community of spacefaring civilizations. Humanity would have allies, trade partners, and protection under galactic law. However, the Primarch continued, and Chen's hope began to crack. "Humanity is very young. Your species has been traveling between stars for less than 50% of your years. You have built colonies on only 17 worlds. Your technology is primitive. Your culture is unstable. Your governments change constantly. You fight wars among yourselves even now." Around the chamber, other delegates nodded. Some made sounds that might have been agreement in their languages. A delegate from the Cirith Confederation stood. She was tall and thin, with scales that shimmered like oil on water. "The human tendency toward violence concerns us greatly," she said. Her voice was smooth but cold. "In the past 20 years alone, humanity has developed 47 new weapons systems. You build warships faster than trade vessels. You fortify your colonies before you fully populate them. We also explore," Chen said firmly. "We build. We create art and music. We help each other during disasters." "You are children playing with fire," another delegate interrupted. This one was from a species Chen didn't recognize. His translator made his words sound mechanical. "The galaxy has rules, orders, systems that have maintained peace for 10,000 years. Humanity does not understand these systems. You cannot be trusted to act independently." The Primarch raised one of his 4 hands, demanding silence. "Therefore, the Council offers humanity membership under the following terms. You will join as a protectorate species. For the next 100 of your years, all human military decisions must be approved by a Council Oversight Committee. All expansion beyond your current 17 worlds must be authorized. All trade agreements must comply with Council Guild regulations. All technological research must be shared with Council observers." Chen felt something cold settle in her stomach. "You want us to become your subjects," she said quietly. "We want to guide you," the Primarch replied, "as we have guided others. This is how young species learn to exist in civilized space. The Lorithi were protectorates for 80 years before gaining full membership. The Yanari for 60 years. Even the Cirith, though they deny it now, spent decades under Council supervision. That is not the same as what you are demanding from humanity," Chen said. She pulled up a holographic display showing the contract terms. The Lorithi kept control of their military. The Yanari maintained sovereignty over internal affairs. What you are offering humanity is not guidance, it is control. It's because humanity requires more supervision than others did, the Cirith delegate said sharply. "You are more aggressive, more reckless, more dangerous." "To whom?" Chen asked. "We have never attacked another species. Every conflict we have had in space was defensive. The Kresh Raiders, who attacked our mining colony at Tau Ceti, the automated weapons platform, we found drifting near our space that fired on our ships. We have never been the aggressors. Not yet, someone muttered from the upper seats. Chen looked around the chamber. She saw it clearly now. These species, these great civilizations that had existed for thousands of years, they were afraid. Not of what humanity had done, but of what humanity might become. They saw how quickly humans adapted and built and grew. They saw the determination in human eyes, and it frightened them. So they wanted to cage humanity before humanity became too strong to cage. The Primarch gestured toward the holographic contract. These are our terms. Accept them, and humanity joins the Council. Reject them, and humanity stands alone in a very dangerous galaxy. Without Council protection, your colonies will be raided. Without access to Council trade routes, your economy will suffer. Without Council technology exchanges, your development will slow. You have one of your hours to decide. Chen looked at the contract. 100 years of servitude. 100 years of asking permission. 100 years of being treated like children who could not be trusted with sharp objects. She thought about Earth, about the billions of humans living on dozens of worlds, about the scientists and engineers who had built ships that could cross light years, about the colonists who had tamed hostile planets, about the explorers who pushed further into unknown space. With each passing year, humanity had not come this far by bowing to those who thought they knew better. Chen closed the holographic display with a wave of her hand. The contract vanished. Around the chamber, delegates leaned forward, confused by the gesture. Thank you for your time and consideration, Chen said formally. Her voice did not shake. Her expression did not change. Humanity has listened carefully to your terms. We understand what you are offering, and we must respectfully decline. The chamber erupted. Voices rose in dozens of languages. Translators struggled to keep up with the sudden chaos. The Primarch's eyes widened in shock. You refuse? He demanded. No species has ever refused Council membership. Then we are the first, Chen replied. She turned to her fellow delegates. We came here seeking partnership between equals. What you have offered is not partnership. It is subjugation. Humanity will find another path forward. The human delegation walked toward the exit. Behind them, the council chamber filled with voices. Some sounded angry. Some sounded amused. Some sounded worried. The Sirith delegate called out, "You will regret this decision. You cannot survive without the council." Chen stopped at the doorway. She looked back one last time. Perhaps, she said, but we would rather struggle as free beings than prosper as someone else's pets. Then she walked out, and the massive doors closed behind humanity's first and last appearance before the Galactic Council. 6 months passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Council. In the Grand Chamber where delegates met to discuss galactic affairs, the topic of humanity came up less and less often. When it did, the tone was usually dismissive. They will return, the Vrax Primarch told his advisors. Pride sustains them now, but reality will bring them back. Perhaps in a year, perhaps 2. But they will come crawling back, begging for the protection they so foolishly rejected. The other council members agreed. It was a pattern they had seen before, though never quite like this. Young species sometimes resisted council authority at first. They tested boundaries, made bold declarations, but the galaxy was a harsh teacher. Without council, protection, and resources, young civilizations quickly learned their place. Except humanity was not following the expected pattern. The Sirith, trade minister, was the first to notice something odd. She stood before the Economic Committee, holding a data tablet that displayed trade figures. Human purchases have stopped completely, she reported. 6 months ago, humans were buying manufactured goods from 17 different council species. Computers, medical equipment, ship components, industrial machinery. That trade represented 8% of our quarterly revenue. They cannot sustain themselves without our goods, another minister said confidently. They will resume trade soon. That is what concerns me, the Sirith minister replied. They are not resuming trade. They are not even asking about it. All inquiries sent to human space received the same response. Thank you for your interest. We are not making purchases at this time. Nothing more. The Verk's military command noticed something else. Human ships had vanished from the border regions between Council and non-Council space. For years, human merchants and explorers had been common sights in these areas. Now there were none. The commercial traffic had simply stopped, but human orbital platforms around their worlds had increased dramatically. Defensive satellites, weapons, platforms, shield generators. Intelligence estimates suggested that human military capability around their home systems had grown by 5 times in just 6 months. What are they defending against? A military advisor asked during a briefing. Perhaps they expect us to attack, another suggested. The commander shook his head. They are preparing for something. But what? The answer came from the Kresh Marauders. The Kresh were a loose collection of raiders and pirates who operated in the lawless regions between civilized space. They were not sophisticated enough to threaten Council worlds, but they regularly attacked isolated colonies and trade ships. The Kresh had raided human settlements before. Small mining operations. New colonies with limited defenses. Each time humans had driven them off, but not without losses. The Kresh had learned that humans fought hard but could be hurt. So when a Kresh War band of 15 ships approached a human mining colony on the edge of human space, they expected another hard fight and another profitable raid. The colony had valuable refined metals. The defenses looked light. It seemed like an easy target. The Kresh attacked at dawn, local time. Their ships descended on the colony, weapons charged and ready, and then they disappeared, not defeated. Not retreating, disappeared. The Council's monitoring stations picked up the beginning of the attack. Energy signatures. Weapon discharges. Then nothing. Complete silence. No distress calls from the humans. No escape pods from the Kresh. No debris field. Nothing. 3 hours after the attack began, a brief transmission came from the human colony. It was not a plea for help. It was not a request for medical aid or military support. It was 6 words. Situation resolved. No assistance required. The Council Intelligence Services investigated. They sent probe ships to the area. They scanned for wreckage. They searched for survivors. They found absolutely nothing. 15 Kresh warships had simply vanished without a trace. The human colony continued its operations as if nothing had happened. How? The Primarch demanded when he heard the report. 15 ships? Armed raiders. How did one small colony make them disappear? No one had an answer. The Ynnari ambassador requested a private meeting with the Council leadership. The Ynnari were an old species, one of the Council's founding members. They maintained friendly relations with almost everyone, including humanity. They were known for their wisdom and their patience. What are the humans doing? The Primarch asked her directly. Our intelligence cannot penetrate human space. They have closed their borders. Our observers are turned away. Our monitoring stations detect unusual energy signatures, but cannot identify them. What have they been building for the past 6 months? The Ynnari ambassador was small, compared to most council members. She looked almost human, though her skin had a faint silver sheen, and her eyes were completely black. She smiled, but there was something in that smile that made the Primarch uncomfortable. Building, she said simply. Building what? Alliances, technology, a new way forward. She tilted her head. Did you think humanity would simply give up? That they would sit in their corner of space and wither away because you rejected them? We did not reject them. They rejected us. You offered them chains and called it guidance, the ambassador said softly. They chose freedom instead. And now they are showing the galaxy what freedom can accomplish. Before the Primarch could respond, she stood and left the chamber. Over the following weeks, more reports came in. Humans were signing agreements with non-council species. The Polians, who had been denied council membership for being too focused on theoretical science. The Krenth, who were considered too primitive despite their advanced shield technology. The Talvek, who were too isolationist, the Murindari, who were too young. All the species that the council had pushed aside or ignored, or deemed not ready yet, were now meeting with human diplomats. Trade agreements, technology exchanges, mutual defense pacts. This is unacceptable, a council member declared during an emergency session. Humanity is building a rival power structure. They are undermining council authority. They are building partnerships, the Yanari ambassador corrected. There is a difference. We should impose sanctions, someone suggested. Forbid council members from trading with humanity or any species that allies with them. The Sirith trade minister shook her head. Humanity is not trading with council members. Sanctions would hurt us more than them. They have created their own supply chains, their own networks. They do not need us anymore. Then we send a military force, another voice called out. Remind them that council authority must be respected. Start a war with a species we still do not fully understand. The Primarch said. A species that made 15 Kresh warships vanish without a trace? No. We will watch. We will wait. Humanity's grand experiment will fail. It must fail. The council system has maintained galactic peace for thousands of years. A few upstart humans cannot possibly create something better. But in the quiet moments, when advisors had left and the chambers were empty, the Primarch looked at reports from intelligence services. He read about human ships appearing in distant systems, about new technologies that seemed to break the known rules of physics, about species that had been struggling for centuries, suddenly thriving after just months of human partnership. And for the first time in his long life, the Primarch felt something he had never felt before when thinking about younger species. He felt uncertain. Humanity had been silent for 6 months. No contact, no requests, no demands. Just silence and work happening in the darkness between stars. The council had expected humanity to come back begging. Instead, humanity was building something new. Something the council did not understand and could not control. The question was no longer whether humanity would survive without the council. The question was becoming whether the council could survive without humanity. 14 months after humanity left the council chambers, the galaxy faced a crisis that made politics seem small and petty. It started with a scientific anomaly near the Viridian system. Space itself was tearing. A spatial rift had appeared, small at first, but growing rapidly. Council scientists studied it for 3 days before they understood what they were looking at. A collapsing singularity. A black hole forming in real time, but wrong somehow. Twisted. The physics did not match anything in their databases. How long until it stabilizes? The Primarch asked his science advisor. It will not stabilize, the advisor replied, her voice shaking. It will continue growing until it consumes everything in the Viridian system. Then it will reach the neighboring systems, including Vrax Prime and Sirith Major. 2 council homeworlds, billions of lives. How long do we have? 11 days. Maybe 12. Every scientific mind in the council was brought to study the problem. Physicists, engineers, mathematicians, they worked around the clock, running simulations and building models. But the mathematics were beyond anything they had encountered. The anomaly operated on principles that seemed to violate fundamental laws of physics. On the 5th day, with 6 days remaining, the council admitted defeat. They could not solve it. Their best scientists, with thousands of years of accumulated knowledge, could not find a solution. That was when the transmission arrived. The message came through standard diplomatic channels. The human diplomatic seal appeared on the screens, but it was not Ambassador Chen who appeared in the hologram. It was a woman in a simple white lab coat, her hair pulled back in a practical bun, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she had not slept in days. My name is Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, she said. I am the Director of Human Theoretical Physics Research. We have been monitoring the Viridian anomaly. We believe we can help. The Primarch stared at the hologram, pride warred with desperation in his chest. Accept help from the species they had rejected? Admit that humans might know something the Council did not, but billions of lives hung in the balance. Explain, he said simply. Dr. Okonkwo pulled up a three-dimensional model of the anomaly. Your scientists are approaching this as a normal black hole formation. But it is not normal. The spatial tier is creating what we call a cascading singularity. Each moment it exists, it makes the space around it more unstable, which feeds back into the singularity, making it grow faster. We know this, a council scientist said impatiently, but we cannot stop the cascade. The energy required would be enormous. The precision needed would be impossible. Not impossible, Dr. Okonkwo said. Difficult. We have been studying similar phenomena for the past year. Humanity had an incident 3 months ago near our colony at Ross 128, a much smaller spatial tier. We managed to stabilize it using quantum field manipulation and gravitational shearing. That is theoretically possible, but practically impossible, the council scientists argued. The calculations alone would take months. The equipment does not exist. The power requirements, we already have the equipment, Dr. Okonkwo interrupted. She gestured, and her image was joined by others. A tall being with crystal-like skin. A small creature with 6 arms. A being that looked like it was made of flowing water. May I introduce my colleagues? Dr. Thren of the Krenth. Professor Valix of the Polians. Specialist Mura of the Yenari. The Primarch recognized the species. Non-council members. Except for the Yenari, who was a council species. But this particular Yenari wore no council insignia. Together, we have developed the technology needed, Dr. Okonkwo continued. Humanity contributed the engineering. The Krenth provided shield technology that can handle the gravitational stress. The Polians worked out the quantum mathematics. The Yenari helped us understand the energy flows. She paused. If you will permit us, we would like to attempt a solution. Time is short. We need to begin immediately. The council chamber was silent. The Primarch looked around at his fellow leaders. He saw the same conflict on every face. Accept help from those they had dismissed as inferior? Or let billions die because of pride? Do it, the Primarch said finally. Whatever you need, you have council authorization. 6 hours later, human ships arrived in the Viridian system. But these were not the simple vessels the council remembered. These ships were elegant and powerful, covered in technology the council had never seen. They moved through space with impossible precision, engines leaving trails of light that bent strangely. Other ships arrived too, Krenth vessels with shimmering energy shields, Polian research ships bristling with sensors. Even some Yenari ships, though, these flew under the banner of something called the Terran Commonwealth rather than the council flag. Dr. Okonkwo coordinated from the lead human ship. Her voice was calm and professional as she directed vessels into position around the anomaly. Krenth shields to maximum. We need a stable working area. Polian sensors, give me real-time data on the quantum fluctuations. Human engineering teams, begin assembling the gravitational shearing array. The work took 3 days. Council observers watched in amazement as the ships worked together with perfect coordination. Human engineers in armored suits floated through space, assembling massive structures around the anomaly. Krenth shield generators formed a protective sphere. Polian scientists fed a constant stream of data to the human command ship. On the 8th day since the anomaly appeared, with only 3 days left before catastrophe, they were ready, initiating quantum field stabilization, Dr. Okonkwo announced. All ships maintain position. This will either work or it will not. There is no middle ground. Energy flowed from the human ships. Not the crude plasma that powered council weapons, but something else. Something that made space itself shimmer. The gravitational array activated, and the anomaly seemed to freeze. Then, slowly, it began to shrink. The process took 18 hours. 18 hours of constant work, constant adjustments, constant monitoring. But at the end, the anomaly collapsed inward and disappeared, leaving only empty space where a growing black hole had been. 2 council homeworlds were saved. Billions of lives preserved. The celebration that followed was transmitted across the galaxy. Dr. Okonkwo appeared alongside her team, all of them exhausted but smiling. She addressed the council directly. We are glad we could help, she said. But I want to be clear about something. What we accomplished here was not a human achievement. It was a collaborative effort. The Krenth, the Polians, the Yanari. Dozens of species working together as equals. She gestured to her companions. For the past year, humanity has been learning something important. The galaxy does not need another power structure that decides who is worthy and who is not. It needs partnership. Real partnership between species that respect each other. Ambassador Chen appeared beside Dr. Okonkwo. She had been quiet throughout the crisis, but now she stepped forward. The council told us we were too young, too aggressive, too dangerous to be trusted, Chen said. But the species you dismissed as too primitive or too different, they are brilliant. They simply needed someone to invest in them rather than control them, to treat them as equals rather than subjects. She looked directly at the Primarch. This is what we have been building. The Terran Commonwealth, an alliance of species who choose to work together, not because they must, but because they want to. We share technology freely. We trade without guilds controlling every transaction. We defend each other because it is right, not because treaties demand it. The Primarch felt something uncomfortable settle in his chest. It might have been shame. The Commonwealth is open to any species that values mutual respect, Chen continued. We hope someday the Council will consider joining us, not as leaders or subjects, but as partners. The transmission ended. The council chamber filled with voices. Some angry, some thoughtful, some frightened, because in 3 days, humanity and its allies had accomplished what the council's best minds could not. And they had done it by embracing the very species the council had pushed aside. The galaxy was changing, and the council was no longer at the center of that change. 3 years after humanity walked away from the Galactic Council, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Terran Commonwealth now included 47 different species. 20 of them had been on the Council's list of civilizations to eventually incorporate under Council guidance. Instead, they had chosen to join humanity's alliance. They joined as equals. With full voting rights and full control over their own affairs, the results were impossible to ignore. The Polians, who the Council had dismissed as too theoretical and impractical, had made breakthrough discoveries in energy generation. Their new reactor designs, enhanced by human engineering and Krenth materials science, produced 3 times the power of Council technology with half the fuel. The Krenth, who the Council had called too primitive despite their shield technology, now manufactured defensive systems that were the best in known space. Their shields could absorb weapons fire that would obliterate Council vessels. The Talvek, who had been too isolationist for the Council to bother with, had opened their borders to Commonwealth members. They shared medical knowledge that extended lifespans and cured diseases the Council had considered incurable. Each species brought something valuable. Each species learned from the others, and together they were creating something that made the Council nervous. In the Council chambers, the Economic Committee delivered another troubling report. The Sirith Trade Minister stood before her fellow delegates, her scales seeming duller than usual. Commonwealth trade volume now exceeds Council trade volume in 17 sectors, she reported. Their free trade agreements allow goods to move between member species without tariffs, guild fees, or Council oversight. Prices are lower. Innovation is faster. Independent merchants are abandoning Council trade routes in favor of Commonwealth routes. This cannot continue, a delegate said. The guilds are complaining. Without trade fees, Council revenue is declining. Perhaps we should examine why merchants prefer Commonwealth routes, the Yanari ambassador suggested quietly. She still held her Council seat, though she made no secret of her sympathies toward the Commonwealth. When trade is free and fair, everyone benefits. When trade is controlled and taxed at every step, only the controllers benefit. The military committee had even more concerning news. The Vrax military commander stood before the assembled council, his forearms held stiffly at his sides. Commonwealth military capability has grown exponentially, he reported. Intelligence suggests they now field more advanced vessels than we do. Human tactical doctrine combined with Krenth shields, Polian weapons, and Talvik medical support has created a military force that might be superior to ours. Might be, the Primarch asked sharply. We have not fought them, so we cannot know for certain. But our wargame simulations are not encouraging. 3 weeks after that report, the Kresh Marauders attacked again. This time, they struck a council colony, a mining world on the edge of council space. 20 Kresh ships descended on the colony, overwhelming the local defenses. They began looting and destroying, as they always did. The council military mobilized a response fleet, but it would take 2 days to reach the colony. 2 days during which the raiders would cause terrible damage. Then Commonwealth ships arrived. They jumped into the system with perfect precision. 12 vessels against 20 Kresh raiders. The battle lasted 37 minutes. Commonwealth ships moved like dancers, their shields absorbing Kresh weapons' fire, while their own weapons struck with surgical accuracy. One by one, the Kresh ships were disabled or destroyed. When the Council response fleet finally arrived, they found Commonwealth ships in orbit around the colony. Human medical teams were on the ground, treating the wounded. Krenth engineers were helping repair damaged infrastructure. The Kresh raiders were either destroyed or fleeing into deep space. Coordinator Chen appeared via holographic transmission to address the Council fleet commander. The situation is under control, she said simply. Your people are safe. We will remain until your forces can take over colony security. The commander asked, genuinely confused. This is not a Commonwealth world. We did not ask for your help, because no one should have to suffer at the hands of raiders while we have the power to stop them, Chen replied. We protect our neighbors. All our neighbors. The Commonwealth ships departed 6 hours later, refusing any payment or formal recognition. They had simply helped because they could. The story spread across the galaxy. The Council, with all its military might and ancient authority, had been unable to protect its own colony. But the Commonwealth, the upstart alliance that everyone had expected to fail, had responded instantly and effectively. Council members began reaching out to the Commonwealth privately. The Sirith asked about trade agreements. Could they perhaps join the Commonwealth's free trade zone? The GL inquired about technology exchanges. Would the Commonwealth share their advances in shield technology? Each received the same response from Coordinator Chen. The Commonwealth welcomes all species who come as equals. We do not have protectorates. We do not have subject races. We do not have junior members who must prove themselves worthy. Only partners who respect each other and work together. The Vrax Primarch refused all suggestions that the Council negotiate with the Commonwealth. To do so would be admitting that the Council had been wrong, that their ancient system of hierarchy and control was inferior to humanity's system of partnership and equality. But the Primarch could not ignore what was happening. Vrax colonies were struggling economically. Trade with Commonwealth species was more profitable than trade within the Council's controlled system. But the Council forbade its members from signing independent agreements with Commonwealth nations, young Vrax, especially those who had grown up during the past 3 years. Openly questioned their government's policies. They asked why Vrax pride was more important than Vrax prosperity. They asked why the Council insisted on controlling everything when the Commonwealth's free system clearly worked better. Similar questions were being asked across every Council species. The old certainties were crumbling. Then came the moment that changed everything. The Inari called for a special Council session. Their ambassador stood before the assembled delegates, her silver skin reflecting the chamber's lights. She had been a Council member for 60 years. Her species had been founding members when the Council was created 3,000 years ago. The Inari people have made a decision, she announced. Her voice was calm, but carried weight that made everyone listen. We are withdrawing from the Galactic Council. Effective immediately, we will join the Terran Commonwealth as full partners. The chamber erupted in chaos. Voices rose in every language. Delegates shouted questions and protests. The Primarch stood, his massive frame towering over everyone. This is betrayal, he thundered. The Inari are founders of this council. You cannot simply leave. We can, and we have, the ambassador replied. We stayed for years hoping to reform the council from within. We tried to show you that partnership is stronger than hierarchy, that respect is more powerful than control. But you would not listen. She looked around the chamber with sad eyes. We have watched humanity build in 3 years what we could not achieve in 3 centuries. They prove that species can work together as true equals, that younger civilizations have wisdom to share, not just lessons to learn, that strength comes from lifting others up, not holding them down. She turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. The galaxy is changing. You can change with it, or you can be left behind. We have chosen our path. The Yeneri departure sent shockwaves through the council. If a founding species could leave, anyone could leave. The council's authority, which had seemed eternal and unquestionable, suddenly seemed fragile. Other species began reconsidering their positions. If the wise and ancient Yenari saw value in the Commonwealth, perhaps there was something there worth examining. Perhaps the humans and their allies had discovered something important. Perhaps the council had been wrong. In his private chambers, the Vrax Primarch sat alone, looking at reports and projections. Every analysis said the same thing. The council was declining. The Commonwealth was rising. The galaxy was reorganizing itself around a new center. That center was not the council. Pride had sustained the council for 3 years. But pride could not stop economics. Pride could not defend against raiders. Pride could not solve the fundamental problem. The galaxy was choosing the Commonwealth over the council, not because they were forced to, but because the Commonwealth offered something better. The Primarch realized that the question was no longer whether to negotiate with the Commonwealth. The question was whether the council would still exist if they waited much longer. 5 years after, humanity walked away from the council chambers. Primarch Vexler did something that would have been unthinkable under the previous leadership. He was not the Primarch who had offered humanity a place as a protectorate species. That leader had been voted out of power 2 years ago, replaced by Vexler on a platform of reform and adaptation. The old guard had fought against his election, but even they could not ignore reality forever. Vexler sent a private message to Coordinator Chen. No official channels. No witnesses. No recordings. Just a simple request for a meeting between 2 leaders who needed to speak honestly. They met on a neutral station, small facility that served as a waypoint between Council and Commonwealth space. No delegations waited outside. No reporters recorded their words. Just 2 people in a simple conference room, the weight of galactic history on their shoulders. Vexler looked at Chen across the table. She had aged in 5 years. Gray streaked her dark hair. Lines had appeared around her eyes. Leading the Commonwealth had not been easy, he realized. Building something new never was. Thank you for coming, he said. I know you had no obligation to accept this meeting. We have never been enemies, Chen replied. We simply chose different paths. You chose the right path, Vexler said. The words felt heavy, but also liberating. The council was wrong. We were wrong. I was wrong, even though I was not Primarch at the time. I supported the decision to offer humanity a protectorate position. I believed it was the correct approach. He leaned back in his chair, all 4 arms resting on the table. The council was built on a simple idea. Older civilizations are wiser. Experience equals authority. Those who have traveled the stars longer have earned the right to guide those who are new to space. That is not an unreasonable idea, Chen said carefully. No, but we forgot something crucial. Experience can breed wisdom, but it can also breed arrogance. It can make you believe that your way is the only way, that anything different must be wrong. Vexler met her eyes. We saw how quickly humanity adapted and grew, how aggressive you were in pursuing new technology and expanding into new systems. It frightened us, so you tried to control us. Yes, we told ourselves it was guidance, that we were protecting you from your own recklessness. But in truth, we were trying to stop you from becoming too powerful, from becoming a threat to our established order. Chen nodded slowly. I suspected as much. Even during the negotiations, I could see the fear behind the conditions you offered. You proved us wrong, Vexler continued. Not by conquering or destroying, but by building. By treating species the Council had dismissed as equals. By showing that cooperation based on mutual respect is stronger than hierarchy based on age and authority. He gestured at the space beyond the station. In 5 years, you have created an alliance that rivals the Council in economic power and exceeds us in military capability. You have solved problems we could not solve. You have made partners of species we ignored. You have changed the galaxy. Not alone, Chen said. The Commonwealth is not humanity's creation. It is the creation of 47 species working together. Each one brings unique strengths. Each one has an equal voice. That is why it works. I understand that now. Vexler paused, choosing his next words carefully. I did not come here to ask the Council to join the Commonwealth. The Council still has value. We represent dozens of mature civilizations with thousands of years of diplomatic relationships. We have systems and traditions and agreements that have maintained peace for longer than most species have existed. But, Chen prompted, but we need to change. The protectorate system must end. The guild monopolies must be broken. The hierarchy that puts old civilizations above young ones must be replaced with genuine equality. He leaned forward. I came to propose an alliance. Not the Council joining the Commonwealth, and not the Commonwealth joining the Council, but both organizations working together as partners. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Outside the window, stars glittered in the darkness. She thought about the past 5 years, the struggles, the victories, the moment when humanity had walked away from the Council's offer and chosen to forge their own path. What would this alliance look like? She asked finally. For the next 6 hours, they talked. They argued. They negotiated. They found common ground and worked through disagreements. Vexler spoke with authority about what the Council could offer. Chen spoke with equal authority about what the Commonwealth would require. By the end, they had the outline of an agreement. The Council would dissolve its protectorate system. Any species currently under Council oversight would be offered full membership with complete sovereignty. Or they could choose to leave. The trade guilds would lose their monopolies. Council members would be free to sign independent agreements with Commonwealth species in exchange. The Commonwealth would share its technological advances freely with Council species. They would coordinate on matters of galactic security. They would establish joint research programs and cultural exchange initiatives. Most importantly, they would recognize each other as equals. No hierarchy. No superior civilization. Just partners, working together for the good of all. This will not be easy, Vexler warned. Many Council members will resist. The old ways have served them well. They will not abandon them without a fight. Change never is easy, Chen agreed. But it is necessary. The galaxy cannot remain frozen in the past. Species like humanity will keep emerging. Young civilizations with new ideas and different perspectives. They deserve a place at the table, not a place beneath it. 3 months later, the formal signing ceremony took place. It was held in a massive station that had been built specifically for this purpose. Located at the exact midpoint between Council and Commonwealth space, representatives from 74 species attended, Council members, and Commonwealth partners. Gathering together for the first time as equals, Coordinator Chen stood at the podium, looking out at the assembled delegates. She thought about her first time in the Council chambers 5 years ago. How small she had felt. How frustrated by the terms they had offered. How determined to find another way. 5 years ago, humanity stood before the Galactic Council, she began. We asked to be recognized as partners in the galactic community. We were told we were too young, too aggressive, too dangerous. We were offered membership, but only as subjects who needed to be controlled and guided. She paused, letting her words settle over the crowd. We walked away. Not because we were angry, but because we refused to be diminished. We believed that any species, regardless of age or power, deserved to be treated with dignity and respect. What followed surprised everyone, including us. We reached out to species the Council had overlooked. We offered partnership instead of guidance. We shared freely instead of controlling. We built the Commonwealth not as a rival to the Council, but as a demonstration of what cooperation between equals could achieve. No. Chen looked at Primarch Vexler, who stood nearby with other council leaders. Today we come together, not as conqueror and conquered, not as superior and inferior, but as partners. The Council brings thousands of years of wisdom and experience. The Commonwealth brings innovation and fresh perspectives. Together, we are stronger than either could be alone. She gestured to the document displayed holographically between them. This agreement does not erase our differences. The Council and the Commonwealth will remain separate organizations with their own traditions and systems. But we commit to cooperation, to mutual respect, and to the principle that no species is inherently superior to any other. Vexler stepped forward to stand beside Chen. His massive frame dwarfed her human form, but they stood as equals. The Council has learned a hard lesson, he said, his voice carrying through the chamber. We believed that age and experience gave us the right to control younger species. We were wrong. Humanity showed us that strength comes not from standing above others, but from standing beside them. He placed one of his 4 hands on the holographic document. Today, the Council commits to change. We will dissolve systems of control and replace them with systems of partnership. We will learn from those younger than us as we hope they will learn from us. We will build a galaxy where every species has a voice, regardless of when they first traveled beyond their homeworld. Chen placed her hand on the document beside his. Around the chamber, representatives from both Council and Commonwealth did the same. 74 species, each one an equal partner in shaping the galaxy's future. The document glowed as it registered all the signatures. The alliance was official as the ceremony concluded and celebration began. Chen found herself standing at a window, looking out at the stars. Vexler joined her, his reflection visible in the transparent material. What you accomplish will never be forgotten, he said quietly. Humanity taught the galaxy a lesson it desperately needed to learn. We didn't teach anything, Chen replied. We just asked a question. What if we treated each other as equals? What if we cooperated instead of competed? What if we built together instead of fighting over who gets to build alone? She smiled. Turns out those were important questions. The galaxy will not forget that humanity asked them, Vexler said. But I suspect humanity will not let us forget either. Chen's smile widened. You're right about that. We're helpful that way. Behind them, the celebration continued. Species that had been enemies or strangers or simply unaware of each other's existence now mingled freely. They shared food and stories. They made plans for joint projects and collaborative research. They built friendships that would reshape the galaxy, and in that moment, looking at the impossible gathering that would not have existed without humanity's stubborn insistence on being treated with dignity, Chen felt something she had not felt in 5 years. She felt hope, not just for humanity, but for every species in the galaxy. They had walked away from the Council's offer 5 years ago. They had been told they would fail, that they could not survive without Council protection and guidance. Instead, they had built something better. Not by conquering or forcing or demanding, but by offering partnership to everyone. By refusing to accept that any species deserved to be anything less than an equal partner in the great work of building civilization among the stars. The galaxy had changed. And humanity, the young upstart species that everyone had expected to fail, had been the catalyst for that change, not through strength or technology or military might, though they had developed all of those through one simple, revolutionary idea: everyone deserves respect, and the galaxy would never be the same.